Welcome to Small Town Times. I have special guests from Nipissing Junction. We're going to talk about Nipissing Junction history with Leah Bale and Ross Sawyer. Thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm hoping this will give us a foundation for a story in the next Back in the Bay magazine. It'll come out just after Easter.
Okay,
Right
thank you.
Leah, you're a Laporte, and you've been in that area for a long time. Do you mind if I ask how old you are?
81.
81. So
Yes.
for a couple decades, anyways.
Yes, a few.
What are some of your memories from that area of what is now North Bay? It used to be Nipissing Junction, and then it was brought in as part of Ferris,
Yes.
and then amalgamated with North Bay. But there's a lot of history in between.
Yes.
You went to the school?
Yes, I did. Went to that school. They told me that I was there before I even started school because I lived just across the tracks, as you see by that picture.
And that's where the West Ferris Legion is now?
Yes, it is. Yes.
And you're involved with West Ferris Legion?
Yes, I am.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Now, what do you remember from that period when you were going to school there?
Well, I remember in that school, not so much in my grade 1, but it was all of the grades. So the older grades helped the next grade because we only had one teacher for 8 grades.
Mm-hmm.
So, but everybody seemed to do well in school.
Right.
Yeah. And that's about it for school.
Do you remember any of the teachers?
Oh, yes.
What were their names?
Mrs. Zufeld, Mrs. Pentland. She was also a North Bay teacher after. And Bill Taylor. And trying to think back.
How many students were there?
In that room, there would probably be 25, 30 kids, something like that.
And what grades were those?
When I started, it was grades 1, 2. Was it in the big room yet? No, that came after. So there'd be the full grades 1 to 6, and I believe 7 and 8 at that time were going to Tweedsmuir School.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because this classroom was getting too full.
Imagine. Yeah. And Ross, what do you recall? Your age?
I'm 86.
86. So a little bit ahead of Leah
I got
here.
4 years on, 5 years on Leah. Yeah. I remember when she first started at school, she was only about 4 years old, and there was a knock come to the door. So the teachers went to see what was there or who was there, and it was Leah. So they brought her in and sat her down. I remember that so vividly. So she was about 4 years old, so she used to come and go as she pleased, of course. And those days. But I started. I started there grade 1, and I went to the school there in Nipissing Junction until grade 6. Now, grade 7. By this time, there was the school was becoming too small to accommodate all the kids, so they bused us up to Tweedsmuir for a year or part of a year while they were putting the new addition on. And the new addition, it took in 7 and 8, grade 7 and 8. So I was at the school for the 8 years, except for those few months that they took us up to Tweedsmuir.
What year was the extension, the expansion?
That was, I left there in, let me see, that'd be 1949, about around 1949, I believe it was. But grade 1 was Miss Burnside. Grade 2, we had her name was Mrs. Daly. She was Miss Fisk before that, but she got married, so she was Mrs. Daly. After that, we had another teacher. She was from Calendar. Her name was Betty Holmes. And after Betty Holmes, we had, let's let me see, no, Betty Holmes. And then we had Sheila Skirton. She was from Blind River. And we had her, I believe, for 2 years, something like that. And then we had another teacher, Mr. Nicholson. And he was there for a year or two. And then the final year we had a fellow named Bill Taylor. He was, in fact, he just died here a couple of years ago. He was 101 years old.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, he was kind of an interesting fellow. He was not our favorite, but of course, but anyway, he was a fighter pilot during the Second World War. And after the war, he got a job as a brakeman in North Bay on the railroad. And then he quit that and he taught school. And then he became a principal in one of the schools up in West Ferris or someplace.
Bill Taylor.
Bill
Yeah.
Taylor, yeah.
Who were some of your classmates? I'm going to ask you that after, Leah.
Well, Billy Bale, that's Leah's, was my best friend. Garnet McMillan. There was Brian DeVolen, Emmett DeCare, Raymond Paquette, Richard LaFleur, Bruce LaFleur, Robert LaFleur, Billy Kerr, Ted Kerr, Irene McMillan. She was married to a McMillan. She's 90. She just turned 90, so she's 4 years old. So when I was in grade 1, she was in grade 4, so I went to school with her. She's 90 years old now.
What's her name?
Irene Kerr.
Oh, she's one of my subscribers. She lives...
Pardon? Right at the river there.
Yeah, well, I believe there's a Kerr that subscribes, and she lives not far from the Royal Bank, just down the road from it, in Callender.
Yeah, but she's Irene is a McMillan. She married Alan McMillan.
Oh, okay. Right.
And Alan was older. He was out of school, but he never went to Junction School. He went to North Bay. Yeah.
And Leah, do you remember some of your classmates?
Oh, yes. Ann McFadden, she lived way up on the 4-lane highway and walked to school. And I had Bruce Kerr. He's got a better memory than I got. You can tell by
Oh, you got
that.
the Wallaces there, too.
Yeah, the Wallaces.
Is it all right for me,
Yeah.
too?
Oh, yeah, for
Yes,
sure.
you can remind me.
I can
Yes.
remind you because I forgot
There
about
was Bonnie was in my
The Coopers.
age group, and the Coopers. There was
Townsend's.
Townsend's, and the
Alec Brennan.
Alec Brennan, and the lady that had the flower shop. Isn't that terrible?
No, I can't remember hardly any
yeah.
of my classmates.
Oh, I remember them all.
DeCares from River
yeah.
Bend Road.
I know the name, yeah.
Yeah, and
There's a road after them. Yeah.
DeCare,
Yes.
the old Mr. DeCare was my uncle. Well, Mrs. DeCare and my grandmother were sisters.
Oh, okay.
That's named out the DeCare Road.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's still Armand DeCare still lives in there on part of that property. You know?
Are there any other roads named after people you know from that Nipissing Junction?
Birches Road.
Birches, yeah. There was Adam and Joe Birch. They were the only ones that Kayleys lived on there. Kayleys, but they were older than us.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They lived where that scrapyard is there, just when you leave Nipissing Junction on.
Yep.
There's a scrapyard there. Well, that was
I think
Kayleys
it's
farm.
called Kenny Upul now. It used to be Central.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you went across, well, that's on the other side of the railroad. And then you got up to, Joe Birch lived on the right-hand side, and Adam Birch's farm was on the left-hand side. Mrs. Birch taught school in that first school, was in the old wooden school. And she was my uncle's school teacher. You know what I'm taking over with.
Well, I was just going to ask you, actually, you mentioned that you were born in the old train station?
Yeah, in the old station. I have a birth certificate that I should have brought today, and I will show you sometime. born in Nipissing Junction. Well, there was no hospitals or anything there, so I think that's enough proof right there. I think I'm the only one that holds a birth certificate with Nipissing Junction on it. But now, we didn't live there very long because my grandfather was working for the railroad. Now, when he left the railroad, I guess he had to give up that station probably, but we owned a farm down the track at Old Thorncliffe Siding. That's down past that big black bridge that goes across.
Yep.
And we moved down there, so I had to walk the track to school every morning.
How far was that, do you think?
2 miles. It was exactly 2 miles.
Uphill both ways?
Uphill both ways.
Yeah. Which railway station was that? Which company?
Oh, the one that I was born, it was the Grand Trunk.
Oh, wow.
But the CN bought Grand Trunk about that time. That was before I was born. Yeah.
Grand Trunk Railway Station.
Yeah, Grand Trunk Railroad Station. I ended up being a railroader on the CP. That was my career.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. I was. I used to see those trains going by, and I thought, gee, someday I'd like to drive one of those things. So that's what I ended up. I was a railroad locomotive engineer for.
Oh, good for you.
Started when I was 14 years old. Not here, but up in Chapleau, a place called Chapleau.
Mm-hmm. I was just near there. I was in Ranger Lake fishing last
Where
weekend.
were you?
Ranger Lake fishing up near Searchmount.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was, I worked on the railroad there for 40 years. Quit school when I was 14. Leah's husband and I, we quit the same day, I guess. And he went to Elliott Lake, I went to Chapleau.
Huh.
I had an uncle there. That's how I was able to get on the railroad. But of course, I started, when I first started, I was sweeping floors in a car repair shop where they repaired boxcars. And then I moved over to the steam shop where they had the steam engines. And my job there was running the turntables. I was about 15 years old. And then when I was 16, I got on the main line. I was supposed to be on as a fireman, but they were starting to get rid of the firemen. They were getting rid of the steam engines, of course, at that time. So I went on as a brakeman, and I was a brakeman for a lot of years. And these would come along, so I was laid off a lot, so I did a lot of other things in the meantime. And then I took the locomotive engineer training program and become an engineer. So I finished up my railroad career there for 20 years as an engineer. That was fun.
I spent some formative years in Caperall, CN town. So a lot of my buddies were career railroaders.
Yeah,
some are still working there. Yeah,
I had a relative. His name was Bill Paul.
Yeah, I know some Pauls. Yeah,
that'd be the offsprings, I guess.
Yeah.
Bill Paul was my grandmother's cousin, I believe, or something. But anyway,
gotcha.
Out of Caperall. He run between there and Hornpayne.
Yeah. Leah, tell me a little bit about your life.
Well, I was born, of course, I lived on the other side of the tracks now. Where I lived,
Was it the right side or the wrong side of the tracks?
Good side, I guess, now.
There you go.
Nobody's there that I know on the other side. Anyway, I grew up, my dad was a gardener, and he liked to sell vegetables to the stores downtown, Hollow's Meat Market. They were in business there for years. I'm just trying to think of the name. But anyway, he sold vegetables. So we had to clean them out of the garden in the rain barrel and put elastics around the raspberries and the onions. And then as that progressed, then Mother always started tomato plants in the upstairs bedroom because it had good windows. And she always seeded lots to make sure we had enough for the garden. And then she'd have extra, so she would end up selling a few tomato plants. And then they got thinking, hey, we can make more money on plants than we do on garden vegetables because if the weather isn't with you. So that's all how it started. A few tomato plants, and you can see what it's become today.
So that's how Laporte's nursery started.
Yes,
Right on.
that's where it started. Yes.
And you worked at Laporte's.
Right up until I was 72.
Oh, wow.
I loved my job there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew a lot of people by faces, but not names because I never worked on the cash. I was the plant, looked after the plants, watering, and people needed information on growing or anything. They'd come to me.
You were the one,
Yes.
the plant whisperer.
Yes. Yes.
What are your favorite plants to grow?
Actually, I guess it was always the vegetables because they grew the fastest. And we grew petunias at first and a few other annuals, but it became our business grew too much and we quit growing. And we had a grower that grew all our plants and brought them up by the truckload as we needed them. And they grew plants for us for at least 50 years.
Oh,
The same company,
you know which company that was?
Brown Ridge
Oh,
was
okay.
the name of the company. Yes.
Where were they located out of?
Southern Ontario somewhere. I just knew the truck was coming. Be ready to unload.
Be a good supplier. Yeah.
Yes, they were. And they're still in business today. Both the parents have passed, the son now, but he specializes in perennial plants.
I think if I was growing a garden, I'd concentrate on carrots and beans. I just like carrots and
Yes.
beans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very simple, and you can eat them right out of the ground pretty
Oh,
well.
yeah. Yeah.
And did you have a family?
Yes, I had a family. I had 3 children, a boy and 2 girls.
And what do they do?
Steve is the oldest. He's an engineer, chemical engineer. He was one of the fortunate ones from Nipissing Junction that went to university. And then there's Karen. She's worked at Canadore College. I think it's getting close to 40 years.
Wow.
She can retire.
What does she do there?
She started in the bookshop, actually. Then she started ordering all the books for all the teachers and professors from Nipissing and Canadore. And she just, then the bookshop was put up for contract. Of course, they thought, oh, Karen's going to run it. She said, no, I work for Canadore. I've been here for so many years. Why would I give up my benefit package?
Of course, right?
Yeah. So she's now on Commerce Court at the trades.
Oh.
So she's got a lot easier job than she does now. She got that job when she left the bookshop.
And you have another daughter?
Yes, Kathy, being the youngest, she was nurses. She worked at a nursing home in Trout Creek, which is now closed. And then when that closed, she worked a bit for the other nursing home in Ferris that faces on the lake that's building a new one.
The old
And she
Leisure
would-
World?
No,
No, okay.
no. Yeah, Leisure World, that's
Yeah,
what it was
the old
called.
Leisure
yes,
World,
yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, and then she was also a union rep. And when she was working for the nursing home in Ferris, the lady, the secretary at the nurses union was off sick. They called Kathy, can you come and help us out? Because she was a union rep, and she's still there. She'll have to work till she's 65 to get the full benefit package from them.
What union does she work for?
Nurses,
Okay.
yeah. Nurses, yeah.
My sister worked for Cambrian College. She started in the bookstore too.
Yeah.
And I think she ended up going over to the college after I think it was privatized as well.
Right.
Not 100% sure. It might have been the same.
Yeah.
But then she just recently retired. She was running their IT department by the time she left.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
she was a big part of it anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I have 7 grandkids. All have excellent jobs. I'm very proud of them.
Oh, yeah?
They're
Well, they say the youth not the youth these days don't work, and they're whatever.
Yeah, I have an engineer. I have 2 heavy-duty mechanics working in the mines, and I have one doing computer programming. He works from home. He's now in New Brunswick. He was in Southern Ontario, but his family grew to 3, so he needed a bigger home, so that's where they moved to. But he's still with the same company.
Well, what's the ballpark age of your grandkids that are?
Okay, my grandkids are, the oldest is 40.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I have 10 great-grandkids.
Those are the ones I'm interested
those
in
are
knowing
the
how they're
ones.
doing.
Yeah, they're doing well. The one that's 40, she's working. She was an assistant in the school in Iroquois Falls, and she worked with the kids that needed help. Well, she did take early childhood training here in North Bay, and then she found out you didn't make much money.
Yeah.
So she went to Nipissing University and got her a degree, a 3-year degree on, anyways, to do with looking after children, people.
Right.
Yeah.
Sociology?
Yeah.
Or
Yes, that's what she
Social
took.
services.
Yes, social services. And now she's not with the school board. She filled in for the children's aid in the summer to go and visit homes that the children have been taken away from the parents. And she would take the children to the home and monitor them in the home atmosphere, and then make a report. And she did such a good job, they hired her in September.
Oh, that's nice. That's
She
a lot
always, the other people that did the job said, well, how did the day go? Good. Well, she didn't. She broke it all down to everything that happened that day. So she's doing that. So, like I said, she's been a lot of training.
Sounds like some good people came out of the Nipissing Junction experience.
Yeah. Well, we spent our life was raising our children. They did everything with us. And that was our main purpose, was the children. And our 3 children have done the same thing. And so their children all are educated.
That's where it starts, eh?
Yeah,
Right?
I think so.
Good
Yeah.
solid foundations, lots of time spent
Yeah.
with parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then my oldest great-grandchild is 14, and she lives in Iroquois Falls, and she's already volunteering at the arena.
Oh, cool.
She's already got her hours in, and it's only first year of high school.
Did most of your family in Northern Ontario, or?
No. My son, of course, he has had to go to Southern Ontario for a job. So he's in Mississauga, and his 3 children are there. And they're all well educated, big jobs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the others are all in Northern Ontario. Yeah.
And Ross, did you populate the earth?
Kind of, yeah. I have 3 girls and 3 boys.
Well, that's a good start.
Well, long, cold winters in Shaplow.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, yeah, they're all doing fine. My oldest son, my 3 boys, they all wanted to be pilots. The two oldest one become commercial pilots, Tommy and Dennis. Dennis is the oldest. He's 63 now. He was a commercial pilot, bush pilot, that is.
Right.
And he gave that up and went to university and got some kind of a degree, and he now works in a hospital in St. Catharines with the computers, whatever he does there. I don't understand. Tommy, he's a locomotive engineer out of Shaplow, and he still flies bush planes on his days off. He was a commercial pilot as well. He used to fly for Cochrane Air Service
Oh, wow.
and other companies. And Danny, the youngest, he got his private pilot's license But then he wanted to go and fly helicopters. Well, it was pretty pricey to get into the helicopter business, so he decided to be a machine operator. And he lives here in well, he lives in Astorville, but works in North Bay for running heavy equipment. And the girls, Joanne, she lives in Wawa with her husband. And Darlene, the second one, she lives in, Anita lives in Timmins. And Darlene, she works in a nursing home in Niagara Falls. And the great-grandkids were, oh, God, I got so many of them.
Yeah.
One's got a hairdressing business in Wawa. And her brother, Jacob, he has a welding business in Vancouver. And then Darlene's son, he's with health and health department there in up in Haileybury. And let me see now. And Tommy's two boys, they both live in London. One is a chef in a restaurant, and the other one's a machine operator. And let me see. Danny has a daughter. She's in the hairdressing program right now. She's 18 years old. That's my granddaughter. And then the great-grandkids, well, they're still in school.
Right. Yeah. So Nipissing Junction, what did you guys do for a good time in Nipissing Junction when you were growing up?
Sports. Well, see, the school used to be next door, so all the boys and girls, we played baseball there. We played hockey in the ditch in the wintertime, slid on the hill, and ice fishing with our parents.
Right.
And also, like one thing with all the ones in the junction, they never went to the theater. They never went to the mall.
No.
They never did any of those things. Everything was done around the neighborhood. Yeah.
It was like a different, separate community almost.
Exactly. And when I went to high school, it was called Algonquin Composite at that time. We were called the kids from the sticks.
Right. The kids from the sticks.
They didn't mix with us or anything.
Yeah.
We caught the calendar bus because it went to the mental hospital. That calendar, Nipissing Junction, went. So we caught the bus on the highway at just up from the Gospel Hall, and then coming home we caught it again, coming back because it'd be at the OH, and then back down to Calendar. So you used to go to Calendar then, but now it's just Nipissing Junction. They quit.
Did you know Nancy Avery?
I've heard the name.
She's about your age. She went to the composite at, but I think that was her last year was in 58 or something like that.
Yeah,
57?
yeah. No, I quit after grade 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You had vegetables to grow and sell.
Yeah, well, I had been in a car accident, and I was unconscious for 8 days, so it took me a year to get my mind working again.
Right, right.
So I found it too complicating at school, so I quit, and I got a job at the restaurant, but of course the garden center was number one. Plants were number one. This was, another in the winter months. Yeah.
What church did you go to?
We had our church services in the school.
Oh, okay.
And then when the school closed, then we went to, moved up to the Trinity United, and now it's no longer a church. They built a new church.
Right.
Yeah.
Ross, when I met you last fall at the West Ferris Legion's monument unveiling, you were telling me a couple stories about that area and the Legion and it being a school. tell me a little bit more of your memories of growing up there and what you guys did.
One thing we're forgetting, excuse me, we had a dog that went to school
Oh,
with us.
yes, Hunter.
Hunter.
There you
Hunter
go.
was his name, and he was going to school. Is it all right to talk
Sure.
about Hunter now?
Sure.
Okay, so we don't forget Hunter.
No.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Hunter was going to school when I started, and he was still going to school when I left, and he never got out of grade 1. But anyway, he laid by the teacher's desk. He was a golden lab, beautiful dog, and about every 20 minutes or so, he'd go around and visit every kid in the class.
Oh, no kidding.
And you put your hand on his head, of course, give him a little pat, and you go to the next kid, next kid, next kid, and then you go and lay back down at the teacher's desk. He was quite popular. In fact, the media come down and done a story on him there one time. I have a picture of him in one of our school pictures. You have too, I guess, Leah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I've got some pictures that you might be interested
Maybe
in.
I'll drop by on my next
Stop-
trip over to
stop
Jerry's
over-
Auto.
Stop at my place. Stop at my place.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to go right by my place.
Yeah.
Well, you know where I live.
On McPherson there.
Just let me know, and sure,
that'd
we'll
be
go through
good.
some. But what was that we were talking about?
Hunter, the dog.
Yeah,
no,
well, we
but
did.
I mean, no, after that, you wanted about the history around, yeah. Well, that little schoolhouse, that was a brick schoolhouse. And if you took the front off there, there's the plaque is still there, 1934.
Yeah.
It was built in 1934. Beautiful little brick schoolhouse. And there's some interesting stories about this schoolhouse. You went in the front, there was a little cloakroom, and in the classroom, then downstairs was our where the furnace room was a wood furnace, and the bathrooms were down there, girls and boys. We had no running water. They had a big commode that you used for the water. There was a pump outside, a water pump. And everybody in the community, that's where they went to get their drinking water, because we had a real good water. Well, that's where we got our water from the school. And that was a big thing for one of the kids when we got older, in about grade 5 or 6. And then you qualified to go out and get a pail of water, come in and fill up that was excitement there.
Yeah, that's pick me.
Yeah, so anyway, yeah, then oh my God, there were so many things. But anyway, I don't know if you want to hear this one or not, but they decided to put in oil furnace. Mm-hmm. Now they put an addition there today. It's over on the railroad side addition next to your house here, Leah. Anyway, they were digging. Men were digging. I was in about grade 5 or 6 about this time, maybe grade 6. And they were digging. In those days, there were no backhoes or anything. They were digging. All of a sudden, here's some rotten wood comes up on the shovel. And the next thing up comes a human skull. Of course, they whisk us all out of there and, get it into the school and away. And that's the last I've seen of it. But it's right there. Now, whether they took those bones, and they figured it was when the railroad was going through
built.
there, the construction workers, wherever they died, they just buried them right across Canada like this. But apparently there was 2 graves there, but this one was right up against the old stone foundation. So when you walk in from the old classroom, which is the beverage room today,
Yeah.
as you walk in, the bathrooms are on the left. Just to the right, that grave would be right there, underneath there. Now, whatever they done, we never heard another thing about it.
No, they never talked about it after.
I don't know if you want to hear these kind of stories.
Oh,
or
yeah,
not.
for sure.
But anyway,
Jogs people's memories of the
I
times.
wasn't going to say anything about that part of it, but it's kind of a spooky part of our.
Yeah, a little spooky there.
Yeah, and the old school there, I remember my uncles were, my grandparents, their kids, my uncles, they were all all 4 of them were in the military during the Second World War. And the old school by this time was used as a community center. So the women that had their kids in the war, in the army, they would meet there. My grandmother met there, and your grandmother, Leah, and they would make up boxes to send to their sons over in Europe. So, and I was just a little guy, and I remember them taking me there and playing around while they'd make up these boxes, and they used some kind of a paste made out of flour to cover the boxes, and then they put the addresses on wherever they were going. So that was some of the memories. There was all kinds of things, and we played. We played. Of course, everybody played hockey there. I played hockey and ball, and that was our entertainment. And of course, the fishing was a big thing, and the hunting and trapping and all the.
Have you guys ever seen a winter like this as far as Lake
I'm
Nipissing
86
ice?
years old, and I have never seen a winter like this. But now, I think it was between 1900 and 1905, my old grandfather, he was born in 1867 or 68. But anyway, he remembered. He used to talk about this country burning, Nipissing Junction, all the bush right from around Mattawa right through to North Bay, that all burnt. And he talked about an unusual winter where they had no snow. So the next summer it was very, very dry then.
Yeah.
And this bushfire started. Of course, they had no way of fighting it in those days. Now they got the water bombers, what have you. But it burnt right through all that part. And I still remember when we had 100 and some acre, 150 acres where I lived, and there were still old stumps from that fire, it's back in early 1900s.
That's interesting.
But no, I've never seen a winter like this. It's
so little snow, really poor ice for the lake. Yeah. No, most people are thinking we'll set a record as far as ice being free from Lake Nipissing.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But of course we still have about months. We got another 4 weeks or 5 weeks. There are a lot can happen in the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Oh, for sure. Like today, we're going from rain, thunder, and lightning yesterday, rain this morning. Now it's freezing up, and we're going to have minus 19 tonight, minus 17. So, yeah, you never really know. The Ferris Business Network is going to have an ice-off
Yes,
contest.
a contest.
Lori Laporte and I are co-chairing the committee for it, and I believe the earliest recorded ice-off was April 3rd, 1945.
April 3rd?
1945.
I was 7 years old.
Yeah. So that would be and I guess they had a really weird winter that time. I saw somebody posted a story about the temperatures up and down. Even though they had a lot of minus 30s through the winter, the ice was off by April 3rd.
Yeah.
The next closest, I think, is April 8th, and that was in 2010, not that long ago. And we had April 10th in the year 2021, not too long ago. So it seems like it's not completely out of the realm, but it is unusual.
Yeah.
And people are worried about the summer drought, and the farmers are worried about not having enough moisture in the soil. And I believe the firefighters should have to worry about that too, forest fires.
And I'm worried about the water table where we live. We're on a well.
Right, yeah.
So what's going to happen, especially with all the new development going down there, building with the Gagne's subdivision, one thing and another going in down there.
Well, if your water table on that side goes down that far, I would think that it's going to be some issues because it's pretty swampy there across the road. It's pretty swampy across the road. Lots of.
Yeah, there are a lot of yes.
Right, like you're not up high.
Well, we are, but we're up on that.
Yeah, you are a little bit. How far?
But our well is 242 feet, so we're down.
Yeah, you should be okay.
Yeah, we should be down.
I have a drilled well as well, and
You're on 17 there, eh?
Yeah, and I'm on the north side, so it's not as good as those on the south side in the swamp.
Yeah.
But so a lot of different things.
That was another little community where you lived up there, and you never hear about it anymore. Dalton is the only one that knows, and you is Frog Harbor.
Yeah.
Just up the road where that big pond is there, just up past that minnow place there, where they sell minnows and tackle. And
Oh,
stuff.
okay. The bait shelter.
This up there on the right,
Yep.
going into North Bay from that big pond.
Is that where that house is?
Yeah, that house with the big long driveway
Yep,
back
yep.
in there, and there was a field. Well, that used to be a community. That was called Frog Harbor. McLeod's from Nipissing Junction had a sheep farm there. And old Rory McLeod, the old grandfather, he had a flock of sheep, and they used to go there and spend the summers down there looking after those sheep, you know. And they had a trail that went down through our old farm and back up to Nipissing Junction. Judy remembered, she just passed
Yeah.
away here a year
Yeah.
ago. She remembered riding on the old wagon with the horses and going there.
Yeah.
That road was, that highway along Boys Road there, it goes
Yep.
along the road, that was supposed to be the Trans-Canada, you see, at one time. And that went right through, past our farm, and then it went right up, and it come up, it swung, come right up to North Bay where the old dump was up in there. And then during the Depression, they made 17 where it is today, up where you live. That was put up during the Depression because my uncle worked there for $5 a month
Right.
on that road there. He got a little more money because he had a team of horses, but
Well, I think 2 issues or 3 issues ago, we had some photos that somebody gave me that her father, that was Sylvia Ross's father, he worked in the gangs for that on the highway too.
oh, is that right? Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can get you some
Yeah.
copies and see.
Oh, yeah, it'd be right.
Because he had some group shots of some workers there.
Yeah, my uncle worked there, and some other part of my family worked there too.
Now, Leah, you have some other photos that you wanted to talk about?
Okay. Right at, where the Gospel Hall Church is,
Yeah.
if you see just up from there, a great big house. Mm-hmm. I have a picture that the business was there, and it was called Hillcrest. Here it is right here. Whoop.
That was
That
the old
property.
gas.
And the stone house that they've restored. There's a picture of it on here too. Will I open it? This stone house or cabin.
Right.
They restored that because it was so beautiful with the stone fireplace in it.
Right. Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Yes.
Where's that, Leah?
The Hillcrest, the Clouds property.
Oh,
when
did
had the cabin,
they keep that cabin?
They kept the second cabin in.
They did with the big fireplace in it?
Yes, they did.
Oh, they did,
It's
eh?
there today. Yes.
That was a
Yeah.
I'll
popular.
try to scan that for the magazine.
Yeah.
What about the picture of Hunter the dog? Have you got a picture?
I didn't look at any of the school pictures.
I'll have
That's
to look.
another thing.
He's in there.
Yeah,
He's
with
in.
them.
He's in every school picture.
Yeah, exactly.
This is one of the Heritage Perspectives columns by Doug Mackey, who passed not too long ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he has some great work still on online from his columns.
Yeah.
And then that road that went across right by the school, across the railroad tracks, that was a connection from what was going to be the old, the main highway there, Highway 17.
Okay.
And that cut across to Highway 11 there, right by Hillcrest there. Right?
Yeah. Oh,
Between Hillcrest and Lammy's there.
Yes.
Your road there. What do you
Yeah.
call that? What's the name of that road?
it's called going in, and it changes halfway in. By the Gospel Hall, you mean?
Yeah.
It's called. It's got 2 names to that street. The Junction, and then it changes to another name. Since
Okay.
I'm on the other side of the tracks, I forget.
That's all right.
Yeah. But
That was Manahan's right at the corner. That was
Yeah.
Manahan's pig farm there.
yeah, and that road that goes in the junction by the church, that was the road to get into North Bay.
Right.
Yes. And it went across, and right where the swamp is on the 4-lane highways, where it crossed and come out by it's where they have wrecks and stuff at what do they call it? Wrecking yard.
Wrecking yard.
Yeah, it comes out there. Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Right.
And then on the way to that road, there was what was called the pest house.
The pest house.
Yes, that's what it was called, because people who had TB at that time, they couldn't put them in the hospital because it was so contagious. That's where they went.
Oh, and why did they call it the pest house?
I have no idea. As kids, that's what we knew it by.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
And what do you got there?
That's the picture of the railway station.
Oh, okay.
That Ross was born in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, that was in the heyday, that picture.
Yeah.
That was long before I was born.
Yeah.
Now, that was, they took a lot of the stuff like the old, where the operator sat out in the front there, that was taken off. And
Yeah.
Right.
one thing. I got a picture of my two uncles and my aunt standing on the platform in that station. And I looked today to see if I could find them, but I'll have to go through my pictures. I got 1,000 pictures.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we lost a lot of pictures when my grandparents moved to London, Ontario. They had their basement flooded, and they had a trunk full of pictures, and they all got ruined with the flood and that. So,
Oh, that's too bad.
yeah.
See, there's the railway station, and this is the Grand Trunk that's coming on the other side of it,
Right.
and you can't see the other railway is coming here.
Oh, okay.
And there's a stone house across from the West Ferris Legion.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather built that around 1910,
Oh, kidding.
and he raised his family there. And then my mom and dad moved there when we had to make the garden center bigger. We'd tear down the big house that I was raised in, and they ended up living their final years in the stone house. It had been rented to different people through the years. And of course, when they passed, I acquired it. And I rented it for 10 years to Charlie Adley that lives in there now. And he's a he worked for us construction for years. So he's a carpenter, and so he's tore that house apart because it was never insulated, just the brick, just the stone. And he's pulled all the walls off, insulated it, and he's redone the whole thing, but I haven't seen it since it's been redone. But
Oh, wow.
he said, I've got one spot to do, and that's the front. It used to be a porch, or that's the last part of the house he's got to tear off and rebuild because it's falling off. Yeah.
Well, it's always good to have a carpenter rent your house.
Yes, exactly. Well, he rented from me for about 10 years, and then he decided he wanted to buy. So I said, well, you want to buy this one? Because he was a real good tenant. So
Yeah.
that's how he acquired it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Back to the railroad, the CP line that went through Coralville and up through Thorncliffe. That's where I ended up living, in the Thorncliffe siding. That would be the first siding east of North Bay, going east on the railroad and through Matawan. That. Now, where Thorncliffe siding was, that was where North Bay was originally supposed to be.
Yes.
The railroad yard. Where our farm was, the railroad had a big chunk of property. It's all fenced in. You can still see remnants of the old fence. And that was going to be the railroad yard, you see. And the reason that they moved from there, went on into North Bay, they figured there wouldn't be enough water to supply the steam engine, which took a lot of water in those days out of Lavaz River. That's the Lavaz River there, still Lavaz. They were skeptical about there might not be enough water to accommodate so they moved another 8 miles into North Bay, and so there was no shortage of water like Nipissing.
No kid.
Yes, the North Bay Nugget did a full-page article about Nipissing Junction is the town that it never became. It ended up going to North Bay. I looked for that. I couldn't find it, but it,
There
like
was
I said,
also a big railroad station there at Thorncliffe. I have a picture of that as well.
yeah.
The Thorncliffe station with operators,
We're going to have to get those photos.
Pardon?
We're going to
Yeah.
have to find those photos.
Yeah, I got to
Yeah.
go through my.
Yeah.
I got box.
You're going to have some homework when you leave here.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well, it'd be nice if you come sometime, Dale or Dave, and come in and we'll go through some what I have left. Well, like I say, we lost a lot of the old historical pictures in flood that time, but.
well, if you're not busy this weekend.
Give
No,
them the-
it's not this week. We have visitors coming this weekend.
Yeah, those
So,
darn,
but we will.
Those darn
Yeah,
visitors.
you live right close there. So
Yeah.
when you're down to Voyage,
Yeah.
I've seen you at Voyage a couple times.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm there often.
Yeah.
Too often, if you ask Marlene.
Yeah,
probably.
they're great people.
I've adopted them as
I'm
my family.
repetitious. I use Tim or his dad. Jerry used to look after my mechanical needs, and
Yeah,
I've never changed. Now Tim does everything for me.
Jerry's a good guy. Jerry's
Oh
a good
God,
guy.
yes.
Yeah, I like sitting and talking to him.
Yeah, he was interesting. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, he was interesting.
he's a character.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was a character for sure. Yeah.
Well, I think we covered a lot of ground here.
we got off track, but
Yeah.
but like
No
I
pun
said,
intended,
it's
yeah.
history.
Yeah.
We're just saying among ourselves. There's Irene McMillan, but she's in Florida, so or we would ask her to come too because
Right.
yeah, they have.
But
a big
Irene
family.
knows not really. Into
Irene
that.
Kerr.
Yeah, but she's not really into the history. Remember, we had.
Well, yeah, she lived at the top. They were in it more so after you left.
Oh, I see.
The
Okay.
Kerrs moved to North Bay.
Did they
weren't-
move into North Bay?
Yes.
Oh, they did. Eh?
yeah.
Actually, I have Kurz as a subscriber on Gertrude.
That's probably the next generation.
They bought Jim Kerr, Irene's mom and dad bought my aunt's farm there, right where Billy Kerr lives today. Where
Okay.
Paceway, that was my uncle's. He had a beef farm there.
Okay.
And where Booze Road come out, straight across there, my aunt had a little restaurant. It was called the Beanery. She used to serve bean dinners there. Huh?
That's right on the corner, just down.
Well, she was over on the other side, right on the corner was where my aunt and uncle lived there, right where that little stone building is. Or a brick building. It's a pump house, I guess, for the waters or
yeah,
something.
something like that.
Well, that was where my aunt and uncle, they lived there. Well, he died. My uncle died when he was 28 years old. And but she lived there, and then after she moved to finally the house was tore down or whatever. I don't know what happened to it.
Well, after this, you'll probably remember things you wanted to
Oh
talk
yeah,
about.
all the
Oh,
names.
yeah.
I remembered all the names of the ones that I went to school with. They all came to me when we get talking about it. It
Yeah.
starts refreshing
Yeah.
our memory.
Well, I was going to say.
My main thing is to make sure that I never tell anything that's not true.
Yeah.
Because it's not nice to have
Stuff
stuff end
in-
up in the that's not true in the history. History.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went into you were there that time. Well, I walked into a museum in Calgary.
Calendar.
I shouldn't be talking about people, but it makes me ticked off. And just as you go in, on the wall, here's a news clipping.
Yeah.
3 railroad men with a replica of a steam engine, and this was going to be donated to the Dion Quintuplets. Well, I have that picture at home, and there it is. My grandfather, J.P. Sawyer, P.J. Sawyer, I say. And the other 2 in there, I'm not sure. I know one is a Duchesne because he was the foreman on the track. So and under in this it says people unknown. Well, I said that's my grandfather in that picture. Oh, so they get a little bit excited. They take all the information and they do a little interview there, and so I tell them exactly. So they wrote all the information down. I went back there after 6 months or a year after, still there, unknown. So,
Well, we'll have to get that fixed for you.
and
Yeah.
then another thing, they had something about this railroad station. the curator, he made a little speech. You were there that time.
Yes.
That railroad
This is
station.
another article we had an interview with.
They said that burnt down in 1922. Well, I didn't want to spoil the guy's thing, so after it was all over, I went and told him. I said, "No, you're wrong." I said, "I was born in that station in 1938." Oh no! Well, forget it. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a full-time job correcting people.
no, but I got no reason to lie. Why would I want to lie?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
This
But-
guy's only a kid, for God's sakes. I'm there. I wanted to
Yeah.
the proper information, wherever he got his information. Maybe the station did burn in 1922. Maybe they built another one after. I don't know. Maybe he is right that way, you know?
Right, right.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
he's all right too, but he's just got some misinformation.
Yeah, yeah, no, it could happen that way. You can
Yeah.
both
Oh, yeah.
be right
Yeah,
and
so
both
I'm not
be wrong.
mad. I'm not mad about it. It's just
Yeah, it's important to try to get it right. For
that's
sure.
important. I've tried to try
And if you don't get it right, it's important to fix it.
to fix it, that's right. Yeah.
But if you think of some things that we didn't get to, maybe jot them down, and
Yeah.
I can add them to the article I'm going to write.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be cool.
Anyway, I was going to say my Uncle Donald was killed in the war. There were, about 12 that went from Nipissing Junction to fight in the war, and he's the only one that got killed in the war.
No,
But-
Mervyn Sparling's dad was
Well,
killed.
yeah, he was living in North Bay. He's not on. Yeah,
yeah.
he's on our list. But anyway, when they were all gone to war, the school children all wrote letters to all the ones who went to war.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, Joy Gardner got a letter from my Uncle Donald.
Who? Excuse me?
Joy
She's my cousin, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, she called me about 10 years ago. She's up in her years. She said, I've got a letter from your Uncle Donald that he sent me when he was in the war.
Wow.
So I got it, and I have it framed, the letter, and it's on the wall at the West Ferris Legion.
Oh, it's cool. I'm going to have to take a look at it.
Yeah, it's just on the wall beside where you stand at the bar, up in the lounge.
Yeah.
And you'll see it. It's a 3-page. But he talks about how they gave them cigarettes and stuff when they were at war. You know, it's just, yeah.
I think there's a jazz thing there
Jazz
next
at
Tuesday.
the Junction, yes.
Yeah, next Tuesday.
Oh, you go to that, do you?
I've been to one or two.
Yeah.
Not very often do I go to anything after 6. I like to go
Yeah.
back home.
Yeah, it's
But-
like me. I've taken in some of his music too.
Yeah. But they
But-
do have something set up for next Tuesday,
Yes,
the 5th.
they do. Yes, they do.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I seen the flyer for that, yes.
Well, I do appreciate you guys coming here and sharing some
Yeah,
memories from
yeah.
Nipissing Junction.
Well, there is
Yeah.
a lot of memories, I'll tell
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Of course, we could talk forever and still
Different-
never cover them all, you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
yes.
there's one old guy that's older than us, Dalton Hazard. You've probably heard of him. He's 98. He's going to be
This is-
98 on April the 6th.
Oh, yeah.
And he was our closest neighbor when I was growing up.
And
He's not well enough to,
okay.
he's walks with a walker, and he has good and bad days, so, yeah.
I think he was at the monument.
He
Yes,
was.
he
He
was.
was the
He was
only
there
war
with
vet.
a walker,
Yes.
yes.
Second World War.
Okay, so I got a picture of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
right.
he fought in the war, exactly.
That's right.
Well, he didn't fight in the war. He went in
Yeah.
training.
Yeah.
He went in training, and then the war was
He
over.
trained for the Pacific.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, this is excellent. I like the old stories and connecting the dots and having people's memories.
Exactly.
All those people you mentioned, everybody's
Old
got so many
Dalton.
stories.
Oh, yeah.
Old Dalton tells the story. I was right there. I was just a little kid. Dalton didn't. They were so poor. They didn't have a horse. They had an ox. And old Harry Wallman had a Model A Ford, 1928 Model A Ford, and he got stuck on the road there in the mud. And old Johnny Cooper. That's another story in itself. But anyway, Johnny hooks on with his old team there, and he couldn't budge it. Dalton comes along with the old ox, and old Johnny, he unhooks the horses. Dalton hooks on with that friggin' old ox, and he just walked out of there just like nothing. Pulled the car out. And I got talking to Dalton here, this is 10 years ago, and I said, you remember that? And he took over. He said, you remember that? I said, I was standing right there, Dalton. So he finished the story then.
Well, ox power, right?
Ox power, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And his dad was named with Bill, the old Bill. I said,
Yeah.
what did you call the ox? He said, we called him Billy after my dad.
And they lived in a house with a dirt floor.
Yeah, no floor, just dirt floor.
Just a house with a dirt floor.
And their house was built out of stove wood. Just like a pile of stove wood, you know. It had mortar in between each stick.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
Yeah.
My mom says I have a dirt floor too. My mom says I have a dirt floor too.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Yeah.
Well, again, thank you very much for coming in.
Oh, you're
It
quite
was a good
welcome.
chat.
Anytime,
I think a
we
lot
can-
of people would enjoy this.
Yeah.
Well,
Some people.
There's a lot. Yeah, that's right. A lot of people aren't interested anymore, you know. To talk.
Yeah, screw them. They can stay on TikTok.
Well, I think nowadays they haven't got time to listen.
Well, they don't want to.
I think
Well,
that's
they
what it
just
is.
They don't want to listen. They're not
No.
interested. That's all.
Yeah. Just
Not exciting enough.
I
for them.
stopped at the Beef and Bran and had a little lunch before I come here.
Yeah.
I got to know the lady there. She's an East Indian lady, and she owns it.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, where are you? What are you doing today? Oh, I said, I'm going for an. Oh, are you? You're interested in history? I said, yeah. So I told her that I was born right close, you know. So she got interested. And she said, well, what about around here? I said, right where your restaurant here was was Lawrence's potato garden. Yeah, right where Tim Hortons. I said, that's where Ernie Bale lived. That was his house there, you know. So, yeah, she was kind of interested in it, you know.
That's wild.
Yeah. McMillan's house was down, our farm was across the road where what's that big Pine Hill?
Pinewood Park.
Pinewood Park. That was
Yeah.
McMillan's farm, right?
Oh, we should get a map, draw a map of what used to be there.
Yeah, that was where Hunter. That was where he made his home. The McMillans. There was McMillans bought that farm off of the Burns family. Burns moved to Massey. There's still some of them around there. And the dog was there, and Burns has left Hunter behind, and then McMillans took over, and they had him. I don't know how old the dog was. He was there when I started the school. And he
Oh,
was,
yeah.
And when my Aunt Helen, she went to the dog was there then.
Yeah.
And then I started.
Were they related to Eva McWilliams? Oh, you're not saying McWilliams. You're saying
McMillan.
McMillans.
McMillan.
Oh,
Mick,
okay, right.
not Mac McMillan.
Yeah.
It's McMillan's. Yeah.
Not Mac Williams, but
Yeah.
McWilliams. Okay. I can't pronounce it all.
Anyway,
Thank you very
thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We can wrap it all up.
anytime. I got lots of time on my hands now. All I do is shovel snow. There's no snow to shovel, so
We'll have to get you a pile of dirt. You can shovel the dirt.
Where
over
do you
there.
Yeah.
And move it back again.
He's got a big garden too.
Oh, I got a big garden. Started out with 4 tomato plants from Laporte's garden, and now I've got sum it all up. My garden was about the size of this table, I guess. Now I got 5,000 square feet in the garden,
That's right on.
but I think that's going to shrink a little bit this year, though.
Maybe I'll put 4 pot plants in it this year. You can grow them for me.
That's where I draw the line.
Somehow I knew you'd say that.
That's the only thing that's illegal at my place is that stuff.
It's legal now.
It's legal.
Yeah, it's legal.
It's not legal at 90 McPherson, though.
Oh, dear.
All right, well, we better end this before I get in trouble with you then.
Okay. Okay. Well, we don't want that to happen.
Thanks a lot, guys.
You're welcome.